Welcome to Expedient Means with Lin A. Wei on Time Monk Radio. Lin currently resides in China and is the founder and head teacher of Guizhen Philo-Cultural Society. He has extensive experience in Buddhist and Taoist meditation, Qigong, martial arts, and traditional Chinese medicine. To learn more about Lin, please visit his website at www.guizhenhui.net. Tonight, Lin will be speaking about the microcosmic orbit. Thank you for joining us. Welcome back again, Lin.
Hey.
Hey, so tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the microcosmic orbit, or the MCO.
Sounds good. We're going to go into the macro and micro. Also, just to let the listeners, the macro, which is the bigger aspect of the orbit, and the micro, the smaller aspect. Just to let the listeners know, I am in my office, and it is a busy evening here. So there are students and activity going through my office. We'll have some background noise, but if it gets a little too heavy, we'll just, let everyone know that take a moment, and then we'll get back to what we're saying. Just let everyone know that's what's going on.
All right, fair enough. All right, so the first question I was going to throw at you was the following. Now, when I've talked about the MCO with various people in different schools, some systems seem to teach the MCO very early on, and other schools say that can be dangerous and prefer to teach it quite a bit later on. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, let's look at the micro, the smaller orbit. Okay, microcosmic orbit. What it's doing basically is causing your energy to circulate from the front, down the front of the body, up the back of the body, up the back of the spine. It happens that way normally. If it didn't, there would be major stagnation in the Ren channel, because it runs down the Ren channel of the front of the body and goes up the Du channel of the spine. So you would have major pains and stagnation going on there. So there is an orbit happening. There is a circulation constantly going on. Whether or not we're conscious of it, it doesn't matter. It's something that occurs naturally, so let everyone know. So if one started right away focusing on doing the microcosmic orbit, it really is not going to cause major problems. What it will do is just, if that's all they're doing, eventually they're going to have a stronger vibration, a stronger charge of that kind of that energy they're moving through the body. So it'll develop strength over time. It won't be as quick as someone who's practiced prior for a while and then starts the specific method. There is no real harm to it. For example, I had one student who came to learn when I was teaching in the Pacific College of Oriental Medicine up in Manhattan. I was teaching Qigong there, and I was teaching the some contraction exercises. So she mentioned to me that during one of her workshops she attended, she was taught the microcosmic orbit meditation. Now, with that, she said when she was practicing, she felt an electrical tingle running through her body, and she passed out. She felt extreme heat and just totally blanked out and passed out for a little while. The teacher said it's normal. That's what happens when you're practicing. And actually, that's not normal. She must have either been very weak in constitution or weak in her energy, or she was doing a high-level practice before, which maybe was a basic technique, just been doing it for an extensive period of time, maybe for an hour straight, 2 hours straight, or whatnot, and then taught the microcosmic orbit, and she hit a very strong concentration period, and it shocked her. So that's the kind of harm that it can bring somebody. But it's not the method itself, it's just the timing. And generally, if you sat there and just held your breath, put the tongue to the roof of the mouth, and tighten the anal muscle slightly, which would connect to the Hui Yin point between the genitals and the anus, that'll strengthen the circuit and boost up that energy circulating throughout the body and around the back and the front of the body. If you just did that normally, you're not going to get much of a problem. But if you did some high level, or really went head on into some practice and then did it, it's possible, but it's not probable. So I always say it's better to have some practice underneath as a foundation before you attempt the MCO, microcosmic orbit meditation, because many people aren't aware of their health status. They're not aware of their energetic status.
what about if someone had an energetic blockage? I can give you a story from my own personal experience with the MCO. When I first heard about it, I thought, "Wow, this is cool. I'm going to go try this," even though certain people told me not to. And when I did, I seemed to get almost like an energy stagnation in the upper part of my spine. I think that's one of the energy gate centers right around there. It just seemed like I had pulsed a bunch of energy up there, and it seemed like almost like, I'm trying to think of how to explain this, but it was stagnant energy. It was as if the muscle had been hit or something. I don't know. It was very strange, and it lasted for a couple days, actually.
Oh, wow. So was that like between the shoulders?
Yeah.
Okay. Usually, it's not that you're creating a stagnant pathway. It's just that there must have been some problem physically in that area or muscularly originally. And then when a great amount of or a great vibration or a strong force is going up the spine, it'll be inhibited by that little what do you call it? It's a little deviation of the spine. The vertebrae may be deviated a little. You may have muscle. You might have knots in the muscle, okay, or tension held up in there. So when it's going up, it's just emphasizing the pain that one feels with already disrupted or obstructed pathways.
Okay, that makes sense.
It must. When I learned the microcosmic orbit, I didn't know I was doing it. When I first learned meditation at 8 years old, I was just doing meditation. Breathe in, focus to the dantian, or bring your concentration to the dantian, and then bring your focus up to the yin, to the third eye area. So that was all I was doing. Over time, meaning from 8 years old or about 3 or 4 years, I started becoming aware more so of how that path flows, the energy flows in the body through different pathways. But it's not constrained to just those small pathways. It's throughout the whole entire body. So when we're thinking of a meridian, an energy pathway, we're thinking a small, thin line. You can't. It's ignorant, not in a bad way, just because we don't know, but it's a little ignorant to think that such a small little pathway, energy is only able to move in that space. That's wrong. Energy moves and expands throughout the whole body. So with that, when the energy is moving, let's say just for the microcosmic, down the Ren channel, up the Du channel, okay, it's up the spine, down the front of the face and the chest, okay, when it's moving there, it's not just constrained to a small space. It's flowing in a very large area down up the spine and down the chest, down the abdomen and around the genitals and back up the spine again. So when I was learning this, I didn't practice the microcosmic orbit purposely, but I was seeing that this is the pathway the energy was taking on its own. And because I already had 3 or 4 years already of meditation under my belt, it was already emphasized. So I was just doing this just because that was how the practice was taking me. Since it was done at a younger age, I didn't have a lot of these complications. But as I contemplated what would be the possible things, I started seeing possible problems. I started seeing people getting those problems or hearing people with those problems from the practice. So I understood that this is there must be a prerequisite. That's why people say you should do a prerequisite first. You may have tension stored up in the body. And then when the energy moves through, it just emphasizes the area of destination. Okay, the stagnated area or the disrupted area, obstructed area. Over a few years of practice, your body becomes accustomed to relaxation and starts to fix things on its own, and then energy that's moving through the area can move the obstruction or make the stagnated energy become non-stagnated anymore.
Maybe this is a bad way to, or maybe it's a false label that people have put on it, but I've heard the MCO described as more of a fire path versus other techniques that are a water path. And the theory is that with the fire path, as you have a blockage or some type of problem, you're basically pumping a bunch of energy in there. It's going to smash through or burn through that blockage. That's the way I always understood it. But again, maybe that was incorrect.
If if one is applying the microcosmic orbit, breathing in, visualizing heat, visualizing that the energy is moving down and it's fiery, or it's moving down, feeding the abdomen or the dantian area as like it's a stove heating up, then it would cause that energy to transform into a very hot or yang type of a quality. When I've done it, my body went through various types of stages one goes through meditation in the beginning. Heating, cooling, refreshing, and then there was nothing. Neither nothing happening or something happening. It was just neither any of those two. And then it went through a period of stability. Then it went through a period of highness, feeling very light, then heavy. So it goes through these stages. The only time I experienced extreme heat with the microcosmic orbit was when I purposely decided to inhale and imagine. I'll just say the word imagine for the lack of my my loss of English terminology at this point. Imagining that there was a heat, then automatically the vibration changed to be faster, and it turned into a much warmer type of energy, and then there was warmth in the body.
One of the other things I've heard mentioned, I think it was by Dr. Jerry Allen Johnson, was that you don't have to practice the MCO forever. That basically, after a certain period of practice, the orbit will kind of remain open and burn itself in. He says.
It'll do that on its own, right? When I was in 2005, in 2004, when I ended up in Taishan, in Tai Mountain in Shandong, and I met up with my later-to-be Taoist teacher, she confirmed that my assumptions of the microcosmic orbit were true, that it does happen all on its own. She said that after a while, it just builds up so much momentum, or one's practice builds up so much momentum that it maintains its circulation. So it does it all on its own, by itself, basically on its own. And that was it. So she did confirm that to me back in 2005 when she asked me if I did this type of meditation. I said yes, since I was around 11 or 12. She was surprised, but I explained to her certain things of what I did, and she agreed that yes, this is the way to practice, and it does happen on its own. So she was asking me as a test, do you still practice this purposely? And I said, no, I haven't practiced it purposely in many years because it just does it on its own. She laughed and smiled and said, exactly.
Oh, cool. It's just one of those things that that most people, I don't think, realize. And again, when Dr. Johnson was giving the example, he was talking to somebody that had been like a teacher of Qigong and had been practicing the method for 20, 25 years.
It happens on its own before you do it, and it happens on its own as you're doing it, and it happens on its own after you're doing it purposely. I mean, you can go back to it, and I go back to it once in a while just for fun because it feels nice. And it's a good, it kind of like cleans you up. It cleans you up a little. So I like to play around with it and do things with it. But overall, it just happens by itself.
Okay, can we maybe get into the physiology and what's going on and how we should direct the energy, or should we not direct the energy?
Well, it's twofold. You can direct the energy, and you don't need to direct the energy. You will eventually, in practice over a certain period of time, not 2 days, 3 days. I mean, could be a year, could be 2 years. Some people want to think they can get it faster and go, I got it in 3 months. Who cares? If that's how you feel, then fine. But the only thing that matters is the results at the end. Anywho, you can direct it, and you will end up feeling like you don't need to. It's a decision you feel intuitively over time. So it's an intuitive decision. Some people say don't direct any energy, let it do on its own. That's good too. Some people say you can direct the energy, go for it. This is how you want it to move, but you don't need to direct it truthfully because it has its own character. When it goes down the Ren channel, well, here we go. Here's the physiology. The microcosmic orbit is the Ren channel. Going down the front of the face, the middle of the face, in the middle of the nose, down the mouth, middle of the mouth, chin, chest, between the nipples, in the middle of the sternum, just through the abdomen, down the pathway between the belly button, down the pelvis, which is in the middle of the pelvis, down to your genitals, wraps around, and passes through the space between the genitals and the anus. That would be the turning point where it starts to become the Du channel, which is passing from that space between the anus and genitals to the tip of the spine, up the spine, all the way up the spine to the neck, and middle of the neck, middle of the head, over the top of the head, down the front of the face, right back, following the path of the Ren channel. So that's its basic makeup. If anyone wants specific points, the very top of the head, the Bai Hui, is a meeting of 100 points. And down there between the genitals and the anus is the Hui Yin. Okay. You can find extensive research on it online. I don't really want to be redundant and start going over what other people have said about it. You can find general information online. Just type in microcosmic orbit on the Google, and you'll definitely find more info that I'm not going to say because it's there already. There's no reason for me to just say it. I'm not the first person to say it, so. Yeah.
As far as breathing goes, is there any specific type of breathing, or is there different methods one can use for it?
Well, some people like to do what they call reverse breathing, which is breathing from the chest when you inhale, expanding the chest, and then exhaling and expanding the abdomen and shrinking the chest. That's called reverse breathing. Then there's abdominal breathing, which is inhaling and the abdomen gets bigger, expands, and then exhaling and the abdomen gets smaller, shrinks. Okay. As we are children, we breathe from our abdomens until we become more focused on external things, become more extroverted. We're looking around everywhere, throwing our attention in different directions. With excitement and emotions, we become in a way, what's the word here? We start to disregard more internal matters and look at external things, and our attention of breathing goes to the chest. So you'll find a child around 4 years old, if not maybe 3 years old, starting to breathe from their chest than they are at their abdomen. Usually you'll see it more prevalent in 6-year-olds and up. But it's there. How do I know? Because I've taught in daycare centers, I've taught in nurseries, and I've seen this. And my own child, 8 months old, I see him too. He breathes from his abdomen, sorry. So when I've learned to breathe from my abdomen, I was already in the stage where that was almost a turning point for me. And it wasn't a problem for me to breathe from my abdomen because I still remembered how to. I was 8 years old when I started this consciously, so it wasn't a big difference for me. So it's only been emphasized over the years where if I'm running, I'm breathing from my abdomen. I really don't breathe from the upper part. It just happens normally. I don't breathe from the upper part of the chest unless I'm truly out of breath. And then I just start breathing from my chest to get more air faster. Breathing from the abdomen is more refined. It's a more softer way of inhaling. And you can't breathe in extremely quick when you breathe from the abdomen. You'll get exhausted even further.
What about why is it necessary to touch the tongue to the roof of the mouth behind the front teeth? I know it allegedly connects an energy center. It connects a channel.
The energy is already connected. The channels are already connected. There's no disconnect with the channels. What it does, it just emphasizes the electrical connection there. How? The tongue touches the roof of the mouth, and the tongue is a soft tissue, right? It's usually moist. So when you lift the tongue up, you activate the salivary glands. I'm trying to find a better way of saying it instead of saying the saliva glands. The salivary, I think that's the right way. But you know what? You get the idea. You stimulate them. So that creates saliva. That creates water. And what is water? A conductor of energy, a conductor of electricity. So when we put the tongue to the roof of the mouth and try to emphasize the circuit, I won't say complete, but emphasize the circuit, we are charging up that body more because saliva is building up. And that saliva becomes electrically charged. Not like, put your fingers in a socket kind of electricity, but a more subtle charge of electricity. Okay, and that's a nourishment. When you drink that saliva, that nourishes your kidneys, it nourishes the digestive system, it nourishes the abdomen, it nourishes the dantian. So that's very fun. Anyway, we put the tongue to the roof of the mouth for that reason, okay? And that reason only. Think of this. The tip of the tongue is the seat of the house, we'll call it. In Chinese medicine, when you look at the tongue, the tip of the tongue is focused for the heart, okay? If it's red, if it's spotted with red spots, we always say there's usually heat in the heart. Excuse me, there's heat in the heart, or, if the tongue is very thin, pointed at the front, you have like a yin deficiency or something like that. There's many, many different things to say about it. But you're also nourishing the heart. When that tongue is touched to the roof of the mouth, that charge also stimulates the heart. It helps your heart to calm itself. It settles the spirit. Now, I don't mean the soul spirit kind of thing. I mean the spirit, that literal essence of the body. that what you see in someone's eyes, that grandiose kind of charge in someone's eyes. You say, "Wow, they're so bright-eyed." We call that in Chinese "jingshen," which is like you see the spirit in their eyes. It's that high charge of pure energy.
Yeah, it's that on that note. I know, after practicing Tai Chi Chuan or different meditations, I know even my own eyes, I can look at them in the mirror and they seem to be, sparkling, or other people similarly that have done these practices. You look at them and their eyes are sparkling.
They're a little brighter. Your energy is charged up. You're much more refined in that energy for that time period. Then we end up wasting it away.
Yeah.
With taking our attention to other things. So that's why we do that one. Now, the one on the bottom for the anal muscles, the anal lock, we'll call it, which is a slight contraction of the anal muscles, which you start to feel. If you're a man, you'll feel it in the genitals. If you're a woman, I really haven't asked any of my female students what they felt out there. So I can only say, women, if you're going to try it, you get the idea of what it should feel like. It should feel like you're stimulating the urethra, like you're going to go take a pee, you're holding it back. Okay, it's about as much as I could go with the women part. I haven't astrally projected and taken over a woman's body to feel anything like that, so I can't be quoted for anything on this. But you'll feel some type of stimulation down there.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
So you're holding the lock down there because you're also, again, emphasizing that energy charge. So energy is moving through that area. When you hold the lock down there, you're causing blood and energy to go to that area. So when it builds up down there enough, it starts to raise itself, because yang energy raises. And when energy builds up after a long period of time, okay, it moves upward. Or think of a balloon. With helium, you put a little bit of helium in a balloon, it's not enough to make it float, but you put a lot of helium in the balloon, it becomes enough to float up. Think of that as yang qi. Okay, that's what we're doing. We're building up that yang energy down there. So slowly but surely, it starts to feel like tingling. It starts to feel almost unbearable to hold, and you want to hold it tighter. And you just control that breath. You breathe in a certain manner, and you start to inhale, and then you start to bring that energy up. And then that force starts to rise up. Some people get tingling. Now, when that energy rises up the spine, it's going to go in through different pathways, going through the chakra system, the 7 chakras. Okay, whether Taoist practice only uses 3 or 4, and the Hindu system or the yogic system uses 7 or whatnot, it doesn't matter. We have them in the body anyway, so it's going to go through them anyway. It's going to charge up those areas. Some people will feel it tingling, and it'll only reach up to the right to the middle of the pelvis, so it'll only reach the 2nd chakra area. Okay, charged up there. So that means it's starting to not open, but highly vibrate that area. It's kind of like a big spark happening, because your chakras are always open. They never close. They're just slow vibration or low vibration. Now you're starting to raise it. Then the next time, or if you continue focus, it'll raise itself up. It'll pass through the next few chakras and stop wherever it needs to be really charged up. That's why it takes a while for people to raise their energy up to the crown and open their kundalini. They raise the kundalini energy, because it needs enough force to raise up the spine. But once it does so, that's it. It's going to keep happening. It took me, when I started doing this more consciously, from 11 years old, when I started seeing, and energy was raising up on its own because I started at a young age and I was very intensely doing things. But when I started to emphasize a lot of concentration for specific areas like chakra system, I was recognized that energy would raise up and stop at certain centers and like burst open. Almost felt like a big heavy vibration going on in there, and then it would shake, and then it would cool and heat and cool, and he would go through these different phases, and then expanding phase, then I'll feel it rotating, then it just became almost not solidified but constant density of a high vibration, and then it would move up again. So after a certain amount of time, it finally reached up through the head, through the crown chakra. I think it was around 14. Okay, it took about 2 years, 3 years. From 11 years old, and I started to get very deep into around 12, into specific focuses. 13, I started feeling different areas vibrating very highly and changing. And then by about 14, I finally was able to get everything to the head. So it took about 2 years to really get things up, consciously focusing purposely on it. Now, from that time up till now, it just only got more and stronger, or, inhaling up the spine goes right to the crown of the head, and things start doing their fun stuff. That's pretty much how that pathway works.
Are you familiar with the Neijing 2 diagram?
Neijing Tu diagram. What is that? I don't know
Uh,
the name.
okay. Yeah, it's a famous Taoist picture. I think it's carved on a rock somewhere originally,
Oh
and it's
wait, does it show the spine? It literally shows the curve of the spine and shows things going up the spine or something like that.
yeah, and it's basically
Uh,
symbolic metaphors for what's going on during the
uh,
process, and it's got
okay. Yes. 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 Yes.
little man holding the mouth open, etc.
Yeah. Yes. 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 I remember seeing this. My father has that in his house, I believe.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
It
some of the
maps out. See, the Taoist work maps out the processes. That's why a lot of people think the Taoist work is much more profound than the Buddhist cultivation. And this is where they go wrong, because it doesn't matter if you're mapping it out or not. It's a process that's happening regardless. It wasn't mapped out until people practice over such a period of time that they seen this is what was happening. And they were already doing it for years and years and years and years. Then they decided, oh, let me just map it out. We had no clue that this was the process, but they knew that it was just happening. Then they just used their insight and looked in the body and seen how the process was being handled, and they mapped it out for us. So remember, before it was mapped out, people were doing it already. Who knows how many times or how many years they've been doing this? It could have been 400 years. It could have been 200 years. It could have been 2 minutes. But it was a long time before it was mapped out that people were doing it. And then they decided to just put a process, give us a roadmap of its process.
Okay. So, seeing as how this is called the microcosmic orbit, that would seem to imply that there's also a macrocosmic or a greater orbit.
Yes.
Do you know anything about that?
Not at all. Just kidding. The macrocosmic is the larger. That means the microcosmic is using 2 meridians to focus in, the Ren and Du channels. The macrocosmic is using all of the channels of the body, all that we can consciously be aware of. That's why we do it slowly. So you're going through the channels of the body. I mean, you have lung channels. I'm not going to mention every channel. You have lung channels, heart channels, liver channels, stomach channels, large intestine channels, so on and so forth. They run up and down the legs, the abdomen, the arms, the back of the legs, side of the legs, the inner and outer sides of the legs, and all over the head, okay, and the face and whatnot. They run all over the body, okay. So just think a gigantic map pasted on your body, and that's how the energy is moving, or that's the channels in which the energy moves through. You're doing the macrocosmic by letting all that focus go throughout the whole entire body. Now realize that this is happening without us needing to do it purposely. But when you focus on it, it emphasizes the vibration much more. Whenever you focus on something, there's a lot more energy to that thing. Hence, when you focus in meditation, let's say just for this one, the MCO, the macrocosmic orbit, you're adding more emphasis to the process. You're emphasizing the process, charging it up more with your concentration ability. The stronger your concentration, the stronger the force of energy, the higher vibration you reach. Anywho, there's many ways to do this. You can start up from the microcosmic, breathing into the Ren and Du channels, and then expanding out. How I did this macrocosmic orbit was I totally skipped the whole going through each individual channel. We're starting up from the kidney 1, which is also called the Yong channel, the bubbling spring point at the bottom of the foot. You can find the maps of the meridians online. So I'm not going to go into locations and whatnot. We'd be here for a while. So anywho, instead of going to the specific points to start up the meditation, I was just going right from breathing into the abdomen, filling up the abdomen, filling up the whole entire trunk of the body, to the hands, to the arms, to the hands, to the legs. And then that was just how I was running the circuit. Was it circulating? Sure, it was doing its own thing. How I was envisioning the energy, or letting the energy do its thing, was simply to just fill up the body. So it kind of just think of the head being open and just taking a big 500-gallon bottle of water and pouring it inside your head, and letting it go all the way down and filling up from the feet all the way up. Okay, I would filling a fish tank.
I would think. I was just going to say, I would think Tai Chi Chuan would basically accomplish, the same thing by bringing energy up from the ground from the bubbling spring, and
definitely.
So
because now if one is just doing the form without any Shinfa or core methods, okay, inner methods, which means the application of the mind for cultivation purposes of your energy and your mind itself. If you're just doing the form, you're moving blood and chi. You're moving blood and energy in the body. anyway, because it's an exercise. You're moving your body, so you're raising heat, you're raising energy in the body, moving it more, and promoting better blood flow. So you're going to feel heat in the hands, heat in the feet. You may even break a little sweat. You may feel a little lightheaded because you're moving slow. Your breath is, trying to find a balance between the speed you're moving in and the speed you want to move in. Okay, and you may feel lightheaded and think, "Oh, I've broken through something. I got this dizzy experience. That's so cool." Actually, no. It's just an ordinary working out kind of state. I mean, that's all it is. But you're doing a lot because you're moving. So you're massaging the feet because you're rolling the feet through the different foot postures. You're bending the knees and bending the hips and turning the spine this way, that way, and you're trying to promote good posture work. So you're going to have a good emphasized flow of energy or emphasized charge, but it's not going to be as intense as if you're purposely focusing on it. Just like if you're purposely focusing on the MCO when you're doing things in meditation. When I was young, doing the MCO, like I said, I just did it and realized that's how the energy was moving. So it was happening all on its own. And when I added extra focus to it, it was not a whole new world, but it was the emphasis of the world I was in already. Then with the macro, when I decided to just fill up the whole body, and so it was filling up the whole body already, but when I was putting consciously putting my focus on filling the body purposely, like really just going for that, then it really boosted things up higher. So if one is just doing the motion of the form, you're just emphasizing the flow of how things are already, not too much in depth. When you add focus, when you add the method, and you really apply yourself, now you take it to a different level. So yes, Tai Chi Chuan, if concentrated on properly, or concentrated on and applied with your mind to the method, you'll start, seeing a big difference in how the MCO or the micro and macro is working in the body.
So maybe we can get into some of the do's and don'ts.
Well, here's some. Yeah, here's some do's. Excuse me, like how to practice this MCO. Well, even if you didn't have any prerequisites, and you're just breathing, sitting in meditation, breathing. Sitting in meditation means you're sitting down and focusing. Okay. If you're sitting with your legs crossed in the full lotus, left over right, right over left, basically keep the tongue to the roof of the mouth, tighten the inner muscles slightly, and just breathe to the abdomen. Okay. Don't focus on the circuit just yet. Just breathe to the abdomen. Let the abdomen expand, contract, expand on your inhales, contract on your exhales. And you'll start to feel a little bit more solid. It's not a heavy solid, but it just feels like you got substance going on there after a while. Then you can start envisioning when you inhale from the nose and out the nose. Inhale from the nose, let that energy also feel like it's coming in from the top of your head. So when you inhale from the nose, you're also inhaling from the crown. You're inhaling from the top of your head. Inhale, let it come down the front of your face. Now, for now, don't think of how much you have to expand that energy and let that energy go throughout the whole front of the body. Don't worry about those little technical things. It's not really that important. Just inhaling the energy from the top of the head and from your nose as breath, bringing it all the way down the front of the body, letting it go through the front of the abdomen, the belly, go through around the genitals. This is all in the inhalation. Going up the spine, over the head again. And once you get back down to the right up to the belly button, I'm not going to say look for the dantian. It's under the belly button here. Just go to the belly button. Energy is not stupid. It knows where there's a strong magnetic force in the body. It'll go to that area if there's enough vibration or enough focus in your concentration. So you inhale, and as you're still inhaling with that circuit going down the spine, going down the front of the body, once you're reaching the belly button, you start to exhale. So once you inhaled your energy right into the belly button as it's going into that dantian, when you finally reached all that focus, all that circulation to the belly area, belly button area, then you exhale out through your nose. That completes your circuit. But as you're inhaling and you're letting it circulate throughout the body, throughout the front of the body and the back of the body, don't cut off the visualization of energy running, going to the top of your head. That has to be constant. So remember, that's why you develop focus first, concentration power first. Then you start to apply this kind of method. The don't is don't let the energy go down the spine. Meaning, don't
you just read my mind.
Don't imagine the energy going up the front of the body, going down the spine, unless you want diarrhea. and lack of control of your anal muscles.
Yeah, I was just about to ask if you could run it in reverse.
You know, I wouldn't. I mean, it's not like it's. I mean, people have practiced for years, and what I've heard from them is what I heard from people who've been around those who are practicing. It's not a fun feeling. You lose the ability to hold yourself when you have to go. It's a draining point. The anus area is a hole. It's an orifice. Every orifice in the body, and anything that extends out, is a drain. It's a leakage point. So we want to keep these leaks to a minimum as much as possible. Our eyes, our nose, our mouth, our ears, or the ear hole, okay? The fingertips, the toes, the hair, and the penis, the urethra, and the woman, the same thing, and the woman's vagina, and then the anus. And not to mention the pores of the skin. All these things radiate and leak out energy. Qigong, when we practice in Qigong, we want to stop our energy from leaking out. We don't want these, what we'll call outflows. And in Buddhism, we call them outflows. Okay, in Taoism, we call them leakages. Outflows come from our senses as well. Leakages come from our senses as well. So we're talking about the same exact thing. It's not far off here. We're talking the same exact thing. Buddhism and Taoism, no outflows or leakages. And that's what we're trying to stop when we're cultivating.
I'll throw you another curveball then.
Oh, yeah.
This is totally out of left field and not totally related to the topic, but why do...
Oh,
just on the topic of energy leaking out the hair, why do Taoists grow their hair long and Buddhists trim their hair short?
Okay, good. Taoists keep the hair long. Oh, also, we got to understand that old Chinese culture, long hair meant you were a refined and mature being. When you tied up your hair in a bun on the top of your head and you put a pin through it, that was to signify that you are a mature adult. You've reached adulthood, and you are mature now. Okay, so that was one cultural thing that we placed on it. We placed there. The second one, in Taoist practice, the hair is a symbol of your essence, your kidney energies, your life force. Long hair signifies you have a long, healthy life. Okay, as you get older, of course, it becomes white because that's a signification that's signifying you've lived for a long time and you are draining your energy. So you are respected because you have drained your energy for teaching others or cultivating the way. You're very well respected in that aspect. But to another degree, it's a symbol of the energy we have stored or cultivated in our body. Long hair meant we have a strong kidney energy, a strong essence. And that essence is what keeps us living for a long time. That's why they kept their hair long.
So why do Buddhists cut their hair short?
Has nothing to do with them saying anything about the kidney essence or all that stuff. It only has to say that they are disregarding the fashions of the world, disregarding the things that hold them to being identified as
detachment,
part
I guess,
of a society. Right. Not saying that they're leaving society, just detaching from the norms of what is accepted from usual culture, usual society, stating, you don't see me as normal because I don't have hair. Well, I'm going to shave my head. I'm detaching from this type of need to be in fashion or to be in style. Okay. I'm letting you know that I'm putting down my cares of the world. You have hair. You don't want it to look all nasty, right? You want to keep it nice and clean, keep it neat. I don't want to waste my energy focusing on how to brush my hair or how much I have to clean my hair, if I got bugs in my hair, if my hair is white or if it's curly. How do I control it? I don't want to waste my time doing that. That's what they're saying. So they shave it off. It's also a symbol of you have left the home life for their specific practices.
All right. Sorry, I just had to throw that curveball at you to see if you're paying attention.
You are so funny.
So back to the MCO now. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I've heard other methods too that don't do like a full microcosmic orbit. They just kind of go through different points. Trying to think of how it was described, maybe through the back of the shoulder blades to the heart and down type thing instead of going all the way up to the head. Are you familiar with anything like that, or?
I've seen this pathway in my own practices as well. It's something that just happens normally, like I said before. Now, you can emphasize specific ways. Like you can have the energy when you inhale from the inhale down to the abdomen, let the energy rise up. You can direct energy to go into specific areas as well. But that would be more of a, I would say, someone who has enough practice under them. Maybe he's been doing this for maybe 4 or 5 years, 6 years. Okay, they're able to control their mind, able to have pinpoint focus, like really good focus. Then they would start directing energy for specific things. In the beginning, you don't need to direct anything. But later on, you want to become creative. It's like you want to exercise your skill, you know? So you want to bring your energy to different areas and emphasize specific cultivation, specific outcomes in cultivation. So they'll bring the energy up to the middle of the shoulders, let it go through the hands or directly from the middle of the shoulders and from the spine right to the heart and start working on the heart chakra or work on the organ itself, so on and so forth. I used to do that with the yin tang or the third eye in the beginning. I brought my concentration to the dantian, and then my inhalations also with the orbit. I just stopped at the yin tang and at the crown chakra. I didn't just circulate it. I just went down, inhaled down to up, and back down again. I was doing the circuit, but I had no clue that was what it was called. You see, it had the same process as it would normally do if you did know what you were doing, or know what you was talking about, or know the phrases and terminologies. But I too go down from the dantian up to the third eye, and then to the crown chakra and back down to dantian again. So yeah, these methods are good. I started out with that, but I was, I would say I had, I guess I just applied myself enough where I didn't go crazy.
And again, with the MCO, I assume that it's automatically converting Jing into Qi and into Qi.
If you are practicing, then things happen on their own. It happens because the most key part, the most important thing of any meditation, excuse me, any practice one is doing, meditation, anything. I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that was my virus alarm system telling me that everything is updated.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Anywho, that made me lose my train of thought. That's so hilarious.
I was basically just asked if it automatically converted Jing to Qi and Shen.
Oh, right. And I said the most important key aspect, okay, is you cut out the discriminating mind. You need to have focus. You're not going to have enough power or enough strength if you're running around daydreaming when you're cultivating. That's why any of the old masters, they've cultivated. When I call them masters, means they've reached a very high state of practice, meaning they've broke through the discriminating mind and they've seen through illusion, or they've seen through their false thinking and they've attained their wisdom. Okay, that's the only time I'll consider someone a master of anything. Anywho, that's just me. You know, anyone else can do whatever they want. They'll tell you must cut out the internal dialogue. Okay, that has to be done. That's why this prerequisite practice. Okay, so doing any type of transformation of essence, Jing Qi Shen, any type of stuff like that, it takes just practice. And along the way of applying yourself in practice, you will attain these things over time.
Okay. We're reaching around the 45-minute mark. Do you have any closing comments?
Well, basically, like I said before, anyone starting up doing this practice, very simple. Just do the exercise I said before if you're just starting up. If someone's been doing this, already have been started, whether they just started or been doing it for years and years and years. I mean, I've been doing it since I'm 8 years old, working with it all the time. So, and then stopping here and there, but it's constantly going. So it's been around like 23 years or so. But people have been doing this for a while. When you're doing the macrocosmic orbit, if you're up to that stage, we'll go to the macrocosmic, I'll go down to the micro. You're doing the macrocosmic, there's many ways to practice it. Inhaling from underneath your feet, if you're standing and doing it, or inhaling from as far down into the earth as you can imagine, and bringing that right up into your feet and letting that circulate throughout the body on one inhalation, creating one complete circuit, also focusing to the dantian while the energy is circulating down to the feet as well. And then when you reach back to dantian, you exhale. You can exhale right down into the earth again. You can do it from pulling up at the universe at the same time, pulling up from above you and from the ground as you're inhaling. It's coming into your head and coming up from your feet, and it's meeting. So one is going up, one is going down, and they meet at the dantian in one inhalation and circulate with each other and continue the circulation. That's going very hardcore and intense, and all you got to do is just keep practicing to get that kind of effect. If you do feel like they are connecting, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine. Just keep applying. You see where it takes you. Going to the microcosmic, if you're doing sitting or standing, or walking or lying, all you're doing is inhale from above you. That's another method. You can inhale from above you. Like I said before, with the feet, you can inhale from the ground as well, and let that just move up the body. From the ground up, move up the body, and from the head down, go down the body. And remember, you got to meet at the hands too, so you got to let that energy go through the hands. So just imagine that you're filling the body like you're filling a fish tank, from the top down, and then from the feet. And this time, not like the fish tank, but from the feet, it's coming upward, and it's just meeting at the dantian and circulating around.
All right.
There you go. That's a little exercises you can work with. Of course, we can go very far. I mean, I can really talk a lot with a microcosmic and methods you can do and states you can reach and whatnot. We'll go very far into that, but I guess we can save it up for another time when we want to go into we'll maybe do a show on practices of utilizing the microcosmic orb. Who knows? We'll figure something out. If it's something people want to listen to, feel free to let us know. You can send me an email, listeners out there, GUIZHENHUI at YEAH.net. That's .net. For any suggestions, any topics you want to hear, any suggestions or any questions, comments, feel free to contact me.
And again, as far as the MCO goes, there's 1,001 resources online that are very easy to look up. Hopefully, they'll get the good ones, not the bad ones.
Whatever. Just understand, if you're unsure about what you're getting online, simply just
don't
breathe
do it.
in. Well, I can say don't do it, but then that just makes you have to follow what I say. I don't want anyone to believe what I say straight up. I want everyone to investigate. So, just start up if you're unsure. Just simply start up with a little inhalation, exhalation practice for 3 to 5 minutes to the abdomen. Get used to that, and then start bringing in the inhale down, around, back down again, and then exhale. Start working on that, and then you'll start to see how things play with what you're finding online.
All right, very good. Well, thanks for joining us again, Lynn.
Awesome. I really wish we had more time for this. This is really a fun thing.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Expedient Means with Lynn A. Way on Time Monk Radio. Please be sure to join us next week as we discuss understanding detachment.
Oh, yeah.
And to quote the final chapter of the Tao Te Ching, the sage does not accumulate. The more he assists others, the more he possesses. The more he gives to others, the more he gains. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it.